As you know from the title, in this video I'm going to talk about that why people don't want to leave their echo chambers. Now it has been a problem since the Genshin release in 2020 because after the Genshin release, people have been kind of like way too much saturated into the gaming genre, especially in a gacha genre, that they don't want to play any other game besides the Genshin Impact. Now the people who actually really love the Genshin Impact or hate the Genshin Impact, they can't even leave the echo chambers. All they want to have is the Genshin but better. And that kind of mentality push the other gacha companies to make a unique gacha games. If I just give you an example, after the Genshin release, it becomes a way too much mainstream gacha game, and before the Genshin release, there was not even considered the gacha as a mainstream genre. It was considered kind of like a niche one. If you comes from the anime nerd fan base and also you know some anime stuff or Japanese stuff, then you might be even going to be cope up with the gacha gaming in general. But since you don't even have that much of expertise into this like a gacha, then I guess you're not even going to be involved yourself in a gacha game in the first place. So that was the problem was happening before Genshin, but after the Genshin, it was happened to be coincidence that the game was released in a pandemic time where people were so much afraid of going outside. Here and there were happening the lockdowns, don't know what they're actually trying to do. They were way too much depressed. So many people already lost their jobs. Genshin was actually kind of like a free from their boredom. And this is the another important things why Genshin has been becoming so much popular. Now, if the pandemic was not even happen, is Genshin can be even popular? Well, from their previous project, which was the Honkai Impact 3rd, it was somewhat of a playing the niche role compared to the Genshin Impact. Yes, aside from the popularity in a gacha space as general, the game was fairly doing fine in a particular region such as the China and also the Japan, sometime in a Korea. But for the worldwide, Honkai Impact 3rd never even reached that part. But when the Genshin Impact was actually having their good times or make the gacha genre as a mainstream, people are tend to know that Honkai Impact 3rd, but it did not even push the game into a certain level where it becomes a similar level of the Genshin Impact. Since the game does not even make that much of money, it is still become irrelevant to their project and also people, and also however still keep remaining this game since it has the highest amount of predatory practice system that you have might not even ever seen. Another point what the Genshin actually done in that time was the editing the PT system, which was kind of like a non-existent before having these types of things. Before Genshin release, people were actually having this like a 200 spark PT system, which is considered as a Japanese PT system, and in that time Azure Lane and also the Epic 7 was considered as a top tier gacha games. Fate did not even have the PT system until after 7 years of a game release they added the 300 PT system, which is even non-existent. Well, after the Genshin, there was so many new gacha game was actually released, and who were actually afraid before Genshin tried to release any of this like a game since they know that the niche is so much low. They don't know is the project are going to be can be successful or not. When the gacha become a mainstream in general, they started to launch their game, and there was so many games was happening. And if I just recall one or two games, which was the Alchemy Stars and also the Revive Witch, people call them Revive Beach anyway. That Revive Witch and also the Alchemy Stars was so much good that it was kind of like a wasted potential that it didn't even see the light. There are some other games which are also happening to be there, but it didn't even have the good amount of quality what these two games have already given to us in that time. Alchemy Stars was kind of like a based out of the turn-based game with a chess, but that chess was the tile matching things. Whenever you are going to match up the tiles, you are going to have the combo, and finally you can even have the ultimate things what a normal each and every other gacha game was actually trying to do that. That was pretty simple, but if you try to dig up to yourself, the gameplay is much more depth than that you might not even ever thought it would be. That is the another point why I love the Alchemy Stars. And also aside from the Alchemy Stars, and it also kind of like having a problem which was the generosity. Yes, in that time generosity was another aspect what a gacha game tried to made it since the Genshin introduced to us the 50T system, because if you lost the first 50T, another PT hit, you are going to be guaranteed the ongoing character, whatever the character actually running in that time. So that system was somewhat of a making a generalized each and every other gacha game after the Genshin release. And Alchemy Stars was also having that thing, but the PT was so low and the currency that you have to maintain to reach the each and every patches PT was the first thing that the game was somewhat of a mismanagement, and that is the another important reason why Alchemy Stars did not even survive. But aside from the things, the quality of that game was so good that I was a day one player and also played it until the game was COS, and it is actually heartbreaking to see that this type of game doesn't even see the light, just like the Genshin. The main reason is that, as you know from the titles, people don't want to leave their echo chamber. Just like the Alchemist Stars, Revive, which also one of those games which also didn't even see the light, but the gameplay was so simple, but it is some similar of a button smashing things, which you have to be way too much reactive whenever you are going to engage with a combat with some bosses. It is a pixel games. Sometimes you are going to be explore things just like the Pokemon of old versions, and other things you have to do that kind of like a old ARPG or JRPG types of things. This is the things what it actually made the game so much special, especially the company that actually made it, which was the Yokai Stars. But I already heard from some news that they are going to re-release this game from their another version. I don't know which about the version, but when the game is actually going to release, this will be the another game that I'm going to try it anyway. Other games also in the list, which is the none other than the PGR. Yes, man. Even to this day, I'm still playing this game. And before the Wuthering Waves release, PGR was also launched 2019, which was the kind of like a successor of the Honkai Impact 3rd, and it having their global launch into the after 3 years later of 2021 in June month. Around that time, that was the time when PGR actually released into this gacha genre, and it was kind of like a hard time to release this game since the Genshin-fication was spreading all over the world. People actually know the gacha genre in general. Aside from the people who don't even watch the anime, they're also showing the interest in a gacha gamings. But there is one thing. The one thing is that the echo chamber. Yes, so many CCs who actually cover in the Genshin Impact, they already know that what the viewers actually interested to see. And that is the reason why they didn't even cover the PGR that much. Yes, of course, since it is a new game, they covered it 1 or 2 times, but there was not even that much of a more than 2 times where people actually continued to play it and also try to build a community within the people's Genshin players, which actually made the game didn't even see the light, and also it becomes so much underrated. Even to this day, people don't even talk about it compared to what the Wuthering Waves has been. The main reason is that people do love Genshin Impact in that time, but they also do hate the Genshin Impact as well, as since the developer didn't even listen. Only they listen for the Chinese players, since Chinese communists are one of those things who actually pulling the string back from the hovers. So if they just somehow mad at being Genshin Impact, I guess hovers are going to be travel at the first place. Filling up the global players needed, Wuthering Waves comes off to the place, and when the Wuthering Waves comes off, it also becomes a hit. The thing is that, as I already mentioned before, the echo chambers. Yes, it would be kind of like annoying to hear the echo chamber all the times in this video, is that people don't want to leave their shells. They want to quit the cigarette just for do the vapings, which is totally a same things. And it is the another reason why Wuthering Waves is even to this day considered one of those like a popular game. The people who actually play this game are all of those people, almost like a 90 to 95% people are from the ex-Hoyoshil, or you can say the Hoyoverse players. And that is another reason gacha developers are not even improvising. There are some new ideas into the gacha gaming as general. They try to release a open world gacha slop, which is becoming a kind of like a slop. Before then it was not even a slop, and when they release it in the first or few months, that game would be hot topic into the town. People would be playing it since it is the open world gacha, just like the name itself, and it will actually be on the top revenue chart. There are some other games also have released in that time, which was the Tower of Fantasy. People actually expected it to be a kind of like a successor or better than the Genshin Impact, but the game itself didn't even live up to the expectation, since the game voice acting story was not even that good, and also the security system, especially it is a mix between MMO and also JRPG, just like the Genshin. The main problem was this game had in that time was the security system. People who actually have the highest amount of rarity equipment on their loadout, people are kind of like stealing from their inventory without knowing them. That was the thing what actually make the people quit this game right away. Even though this game actually relaunched it kind of like a few months ago, but did not even have the same impact what it was in the first few months of a release. Therefore, people who actually hate Genshin Impact, they didn't even find the games. They totally went back to the Genshin, just being saying that I guess this game cannot even be defeated. But after Wuthering Waves release, it's somewhat of a having the competition, and that is the another reason why the Genshin Impact was giving us the free 5-star selector into the Natalin patch in 2024. I guess yes, that was the time. After that time, that game was somewhat of a having a good amount of like a QQL update, but even to this day they didn't even added the skip button, which is the most highest QQL update coming from the Genshin Impact of old players. Now this echo chamber did not even stop there. People don't even play the PGR, they only play the Wuthering Waves, and they only only care about is the combat. Yes, PGR is another things where combat is also the first things that they actually introduce in here. It is better combat that I have ever seen in a gacha space, especially the orb system, which can make you a kind of like unlimited combo without having the cooldown. This is another important aspect that you have to know. For the Udarangas, there might be so many things that you have to do, especially some cooldown of a skill, ultimate cooldown, energy regeneration. But for the PGR, you don't even have to feel on any of those like things. And since it is a successor, or since it is better than the Genshin Impact 3rd, the gacha system by itself, one of the best that any other gacha game has been published. Since people already making so many tier lists, the what is the F2P gacha game based around their pooling rate and also based around the how much of a F2P friendly that game can be, they never even mentioned the PGR. I guess one or two people that they did mention it, but most of the people did not. If they made a tier list of 10 games, in those 10 games you might not even find the PGR, and 8 of the games are going to be covered about like one of those open world gacha slots, since the people cannot even leave the echo chamber. And that is the reason developers are releasing continuously of open world gacha like 7 Deadly Sins Origins, Duat Night Abyss, which was considered as a kind of like gacha games of a 50-50, but they totally remove it and make it as a progression types of things where you have to select a characters and also progress to a certain levels, or you have to spend your some certain times to get that character, just like the Warframe in anime versions. That being said, PGR has the most generous types of things. The weapon is as 80 to 20. Getting the weapon PT is 30 pulls, and also if you just somehow have the previous characters of a signature weapon 6-star versions, you can totally scalp it and also exchange it with the recent character's weapon, which is actually huge W, since the old character doesn't even have the relevancy into the new meta. And each and every patch, if you just play it daily, not even playing it, just having the play it weekly, you might can even have the guaranteed with a each and every 5-star whatever the game is actually providing to you. Game is actually trying to provide you the good amount of currency to guarantee a single characters, and which is a 60 PT, and you are going to get a 60 PT around of pulls. And another important part is that game is F2P, doing all those things doesn't even require that much of a time. The end game is doesn't even going to be catered towards your time restriction. The time restriction that I'm trying to say here, which is going to be the Genshin, Spiral, Wuthering Star University, and upcoming some other open world gacha games endgame, where you have to complete within a period of time to complete it. Otherwise, I guess you cannot even have the rewards. This is another predatory practice. This gacha game has been doing it since the player doesn't even care about it. I don't know when they are going to talk about it. I haven't even seen any of those people actually talk about this topic in this gacha genre. All they talk about, no 50 system, no other system. But for the PGR, when the endgame is actually happens, you don't even have to complete it anything. Just by attending the endgame mode, you are going to get the full rewards. You know how much of a good thing it is. The endgame system is kind of like a score based or leaderboard system. If you just somehow able to be top of the board, it won't be give you extra rewards, but it will actually give you extra kind of like currency, which you can just totally get from the dude from the shop. This is another important things, which at least from the shop you can highest amount of get it, which is a double S characters, and after that you are totally done right there. That's why PGR is still even to this day kind of like underrated, but withering a somewhat of a boost this game, people don't even want to talk about it since the Genshinfication of Echo Chamber did not even end there. There are some other so many gacha games has been released like Arkners. In this year, we already get 2 open world gacha games, Arkners Enfield and also the NTE Neverness to Everness. People are actually overhyped about these games. In near future, we are going to get the Ananta and some other stuffs. And our recent games, which is the Zenless Zero, this game somewhat of having a problem of sandwich between the Genshin and also the Wutheringness. So for that reason, they just totally removed the signature mode, which is a TV mode. I know that it was the most hated system that the game is actually ever produced, but I really love that system, since the games offer some kind of like urban fantasy types of things, and some games should have their own unique signature move. After the second anniversary, the games become a semi-open world, just like the HSR, and try to focus it with the open world in each and every patches. I don't know what the game is actually try to do that. If they just somehow don't even have their own identity, I guess in near future this game would be considered as like a all over the place. To be honest, that's all those things I really wanted to share with you guys, and I don't know when this open world slop is going to end. And if I give you a recent examples, Battle Royale could be a good example for these types of genre. It was not even popular before the PUBG was released, but after PUBG release, each and every games which does not even have the battle royale element, they're just adding it out of nowhere, and it becomes exaggerated things for a certain extent. Now people don't even have any of this like interest in a battle royale anymore. I guess when people are actually reach the point to already have enough about this open world gacha, I guess they might be even open their eyes to experience some other new gacha games. If you do have any more like questions or regarding about these topics, do have opinion about this topic, totally let me know in the comment section. I will be replying you there. And if you really want to see these types of content on my channel, just subscribe to my channel. So wait for the next video. Up until then, peace.